The film shows Christian, a geologist from Norway, returning home. Upon arrival, he finds his wife, Idun, fixing the plumbing. During lunch, he shares with the family that they will soon move to a new house. Later, he goes to work and enjoys a final lunch with colleagues before moving to Stavanger with his family. While packing, an alarm sounds. He discovers that the groundwater level has suddenly dropped, but there were no other incidents. Arvid, his boss, reassures him that the mountain is calm and everything is under control. Despite being ready to leave, with only some final adjustments pending, Christian can't stop thinking about the drop in water level. He finds the situation very unusual and can't forget about it. While waiting for the ferry, he observes the nearby mountain and has an idea. He returned to the Geology Institute and left the children in the car while chatting with former colleagues. He explained to them that the fault was probably in the wires, not in the measuring devices, as an aquifer doesn't just disappear suddenly. He had looked for alternatives to form new underground layers, which could cause wear. The loss of signal could indicate that this wear had damaged the wire they had installed in the mountain. Christian and a former colleague, Jacob, went to inspect the mountain, and when they went down there, they confirmed that the wires were damaged. Frustrated, they returned, and Christian could only issue a precautionary alert to avoid alarming the city. He wanted to trigger the red alert to evacuate the entire city, but his colleagues said it wouldn't be ideal to worry the city residents. It would be chaos. Hey, what would you do if you had only 10 minutes to leave your city due to a tsunami? The film I'm going to summarize is called Bølgen, in English, The Wave. It's a very good Norwegian film that mixes suspense, drama, and action. Before getting into the summary, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave a like to receive the best recaps. Upon returning to the car, Christian noticed the children's absence and went to the hotel where Idun works, finding them there. Julia, the daughter, wanted to go back home to say goodbye, while Sondre, the son, remained at the hotel after seeing the young receptionist. George was alone at the Geology Center, watching a film, when he noticed the sensors indicating abnormal readings and contractions in the rocks. He and Margot informed Arvid about the sensors' findings. Arvid and Jacob decided to enter the mountain to check the sensors personally. Meanwhile, Christian, still restless, called the Geology Center to hear any news. He went to the place where he kept old objects in search of something specific. Upon finding it, he compared the contraction data he had previously recorded in Vyant and Randa, realizing that these contractions signaled an avalanche. The records from both locations showed that the mountains weren't expanding, but being compressed against each other. With this information, Christian called the Geology Center again and shared his discovery with Arvid. Just as Arvid and Jacob started climbing, an unexpected earthquake occurred, and Jacob ended up trapped by his feet. George and Margot then lost communication with them. It was also observed that the groundwater level was dropping at various points, a sign that a tsunami could occur soon. Christian, still on the phone with the group, instructed Margot to activate the alarm. Margot triggered the tsunami alert, and the city's population was warned of the approaching danger. Shortly after, an avalanche was triggered. Arvid, while trying to help Jacob, was hit by a rock and died. Christian was taking Julia to a safe place, warning everyone along the way to quickly climb the hill to escape the tsunami. At the same time, Idun and her colleague Vibeke informed all guests about the tsunami risk and directed everyone to go to the tour bus to leave the city, with Idun noting that Sondre was missing. She went looking for him, and Maria, a guest, asked her husband Philip to help Idun search for her son. With heavy traffic, Christian saw that there wouldn't be time to leave the city and chose to leave the car and run up the hill with his daughter. He told everyone else to leave their cars and run uphill on foot. When his neighbor Anna got stuck between two vehicles, Christian instructed Julia to accompany Thomas, Anna's husband, and Teresa, the couple's daughter, up the hill while he rescued Anna. Realizing that the tsunami was inevitable and it was too late, they decided to take shelter inside a car. Unfortunately, the wave hit the vehicle and they passed out. Maria found Sondre skating in the corridor with his headphones, and Idun promptly took her son outside the hotel. Soon after leaving the hotel, they realized the bus had already left and a huge wave was coming in their direction. Idun directed everyone to seek refuge in the building's basement. Sondre and Philip ran back to the hotel, while Maria was paralyzed with fear and Idun had to drag her to safety. The two men entered a room and anxiously waited for Eden and Maria. Eden managed to get in, but Maria was swept away by the force of the water. Philip desperately called for his wife, but Eden insisted they needed to close the door, as it was unlikely Maria had survived. With difficulty, they closed the door against the water that was invading the place, and at the moment, they succeeded. Everything went dark. Christian woke up and was horrified to see Anna seriously injured. With the sad certainty that she had died, he left the car and crawling climbed the hill in search of Julia and others who might have survived. When he found Julia, he hugged her and silently apologized to Thomas because he couldn't save Anna. At the geology center, George and Margot received a phone call from Jacob. They spoke on the phone and asked if Jacob was okay and if he was with Arvid. Jacob didn't say anything, but his silence made Margot and George cry because they understood that Arvid had died. In the hotel basement, Iden supported Philip, who had lost his wife. Christian was worried about Eden and Sondra because the bus Iden mentioned still hadn't arrived. He saw a man on the phone and went to ask where the call was from. The man said it was from a high place near the city of Geiranger. Christian used the borrowed phone and asked the person on the other end if a tour bus had arrived there. He panicked upon discovering that no tour bus had arrived there. He then decided to return to the hotel on his own to check the situation. He asked Julia to stay with Thomas for a while until he returned. In the basement, Idun and Sondre struggled against the door where water was invading and managed to close it. Eden inspected the air vents looking for an escape route and finding none, expressed her frustration out loud. Water began seeping in again through the door cracks. Philip complained about the problem they were in, and Sondre got irritated because he wasn't helping to seal the door properly. Eden intervened to prevent further arguments, while Philip warned that they could die if they just kept waiting. Meanwhile, Christian navigated with a paddle among the flooded debris to reach the hotel. When he reached a drier place, he started walking and saw he was on top of a tour bus. He opened the bus and went inside. He looked at the dead people until he found Vibeke, the young attendant. Since he didn't see Eden and Sondra, he went to the hotel. The room where Eden and Sondra were was already full of water. They tried to open the shelter door to escape, but couldn't because debris was blocking the opening. After a while, they swam to a place where air was entering so they could breathe. Philip was desperate because he had nowhere to hold on to avoid sinking. He pushed Sondre down and ended up making the boy drown. Eden saw her son drowning and pushed Philip down to save Sondre. Philip didn't survive, and Eden apologized to Sondra for what she did. Christian arrived at the hotel looking for Eden and Sondre. He looked everywhere to find them. When he went to look in the basement, he saw it was flooded and didn't enter. He didn't give up and continued searching until he saw something in one of the rooms. It was the room where Sondre was before, and his bag was still there. Christian looked at the bag, and seeing that it was indeed Sondra's, thought something bad had happened and started banging on the window, very angry. Sondra and Eden heard the noise and tried to make more noise on the air pipes for Christian to notice them. When they saw that Christian wasn't hearing, Eden dove, got a tool, and hit the pipes with it. Christian heard the noise and banged on the window again. Sondra and Eden laughed when they saw that Christian had heard them. Their joy was short-lived because water started entering through the air passage. Christian went to the place under the hotel and swam underwater. He removed everything that was in front of the door to be able to open it. Eden asked Sondre to wait while she swam again to try to open the room door. Without them knowing, Christian and Eden were trying to open the same door. When they opened the door, they were happy to find each other. Christian told Eden to swim to the stairs and get out of the water before he went to where Sondra was. Eden waited on the stairs for them, and Christian went to Sondra, who was very scared. Sondra didn't want to when Christian said they needed to swim to the stairs, but his father said everything would be okay, and that he would be right behind him. Sondra finally agreed, and they dove. Midway through, Sondra started running out of air, so Christian had to blow air into his mouth to help him breathe. Then, Christian signaled for Sondra to swim more. When Eden saw Sondra, she quickly pulled him out of the water upon noticing that Christian wasn't with him. After helping Sondre breathe, it was Christian's turn to run out of air and be unable to swim. She found him and pulled him out of the water. Eden pressed Christian's chest and blew air into his mouth. She did this many times, but Christian wouldn't wake up. When she thought Christian wouldn't wake up anymore, She stopped trying, but Sondre didn't give up. He asked his father to wake up and started pressing his chest hard. He gave mouth to mouth to his father and pressed his chest until Christian woke up, expelling water. They hugged. At the same time, Julia was sitting with Teresa, restless, thinking about her family. When she heard the sound of a helicopter, she looked to see if it was her family arriving. She was sad when she discovered it wasn't. Then the helicopter left. Soon after, she spotted her parents and brother approaching. She ran towards them and Eden lifted her in the air. They all continued climbing to the location of the rescuers and others who had survived, happy to be together again. And so the film ends. What rating would you give this film? And don't forget to activate the bell to stay up to date with new summaries. So until next time,